Hello and welcome to this episode of the podcast Widowhood Made Me Happier with me, Tabby Kerwin. You are very welcome here. This is the podcast where we protect mental health, we grow with grief and we perform at our best. And any topic is fair game round here, especially when it comes to talking about grief, widowhood and everything in between. So it seems I have the addition of a little helper this morning for my podcast. This is Pearl. She's very pleased to meet you. She's also now going. So today I want to talk to you about growing a business with grief. So for me, when my husband Simon died, that was at a time we were in a partnership, not just in life and love, but also in business. And it was a portfolio of different things from event company to publishing. I was coaching. Simon was a professional musician, and we were doing things together and separate and all the rest of it. So there was a lot. It was quite a wide repertoire of work. And when Simon became ill, all of the events and weddings that we were managing, that we were catering, that we were coordinating, organising, that fell to me because that was really my domain. So I was trying to balance caring for him, often visiting him in hospital because he would have been in and out of hospital with infections whilst having treatment. I was trying to balance that, looking after him, running the house, being a mum, but also serving all our clients for the business. Oh, got another helper. This is Kevin, who's just going to show you the back of his head apparently. But yeah, so I was managing that and it was really difficult, but I had some great people that helped me with the workload so I could balance and blend it. But when Simon died, which came around 4 months after he'd been diagnosed with a germ cell tumour, I really had to make the choice of how I moved forward with business. And in the first instance, in the first few kind of weeks, first months, there was a lot of bookings that I had to service. I couldn't do anything about it. And then as I moved, so Simon died at the end of 2018. As I moved into 2019, there was this time when it was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I knew I had to take a step back from a lot of the things because I just couldn't do it all by myself. And I had to acknowledge that I couldn't do it all by myself, but also that I didn't have to do it all myself. And I think that's something really, really important to acknowledge when you're growing with grief, is you don't have to do it all. You might be able to do it all, but you don't have to. Okay, you can take a choice to drop some things and not do them at all. Or you can take a choice to delegate some things. But yeah, I knew I had to take that step back and see which parts of the portfolio business I wanted to carry forward, because there were certain parts that were just, they were really Simon's domain and I wanted to be able to deliver that in a different way. And I had to really sort of dig deep and ask myself the questions of, can I do those bits that he did? And also, do I really want to? Sometimes I went through the thought process of, yeah, I can do it all. Then, that reminder of I don't have to do it all. I had to ask myself the question of, do I want to do the bits that Simon did of the business? Because not just on a practical level, but on an emotional level, would that be too hard? Would that be a constant reminder of what he's not here to do anymore? So I've really had to dig deep with those questions. And I think you have to get honest with that when you are growing with grief, when you've lost someone and you are trying to run a business at the same time. So I took that time, I worked out how I wanted the business to look. And I knew that there was some areas I didn't want to do. And there was some areas that Simon had been particularly focused on, especially around his music and publishing, that I chose then to make all of that available for free. So take a hit financially for me by not selling anymore, but giving away. And that was really important for me because it meant that I kept his legacy alive through music. And nearly 7.5 years along the line now, that music's still really popular. There's still people downloading it for free. It's a real benefit and it keeps his name alive. It keeps his music on a music stand in a band room somewhere. And, younger generations of musicians will be coming through now going, oh, who's this bloke? And they might look him up and it just keeps his memory and legacy alive, which I think is the greatest tribute that I can give him in that sense. So I chose financially to take the hit with that. And I chose which areas of the business that I wanted to focus on. And it was actually, to be quite honest, areas that we hadn't really fully evolved when we were working together, but I knew it was what I wanted to do going forward. So I made all these choices of where to focus my energy, and then COVID hit. And everything went to pot, because the big part that I decided I was going to focus on was events and weddings, because I love doing it, and COVID's hit, and overnight we lost probably not far off 100 grand's worth of business overnight in cancelled bookings in 2019. And yeah, so that was like, well, okay, so that's not happening, at least for this year. And then I had to really think again, and sort of, not only did I have, like everybody else, was trying to navigate this global pandemic, I was also still very new into my grief. It was only a year and a bit down the line, so I was still very much getting used to this new role as a widow, as a single mum, as a sole business owner rather than a partner. And then we're navigating all of that as well. And actually, when we came back, having made the decision at the start of 2020, I literally took a year to decide what I wanted to do, but having made that decision at the start of 2020, to really focus on events and weddings, because I loved it. I loved my clients. It was a lovely industry to work in. That was snatched away. I literally just made the decision to go all in on that at the start of 2020, having taken a year to decide, and it was just snatched away. And then a year later in 2021, when I went back and I did that first wedding, and I just realised physically, oh my God, I cannot do this. I was just knackered physically after the first wedding. And if you've ever worked in events or weddings, you will know that when you're in it, doing it week after week, you don't notice so much the toll it's taking on your body and your mind. And suddenly I found myself, in my 40s, heading towards mid 40s, going, I can't do this anymore. So again, I had to really weigh up then, how do I navigate my grief? How do I navigate business? And now how do I add in this reality that physically I'm getting of an age where I can't necessarily or don't want to put myself through that? So yeah, and it did open another can of worms with grief. It's like, well, if I don't do that, am I letting Simon down? Am I letting myself down? What am I going to do? But something that did come out of COVID was that it allowed me to pivot a lot of my work in facilitation and training and coaching, and it all went online. Which we all had to do in 2020. And so that pivot was really important for me business-wise, because actually it just meant that I love this. I love working directly with people. I love being able to help them and use my experiences of grief and mental health to be able to pull other people up, to be able to help them, to be able to pass that baton of hope on to them. And then that was really how grief became completely interwoven into my business, because it was the start 2020 was when I went, actually, I can use all of this to help other people. And then grief really became a purpose in my business. My purpose was to help others to the highest and best standard that I absolutely could. So grief played such a role in my business, from being, okay, I have to acknowledge what I can't do because I ran this business with the person I loved, and I have to readdress it whilst managing my grief, whilst also trying not to feel guilty for the parts of the business I'm letting go, to then really embracing grief and bringing it into the business, making it the heart and soul of everything I do, everything I talk about, everything I write about. And now I honestly couldn't imagine the business without grief being that central role. And it's hard. It's always hard when we're talking about loved ones that we've lost. But it's just such a privilege, and it's such a purpose. And I think that's the key thing to take from this. If you are living with grief and you're trying to grow with your grief, but you're also, you might be a solopreneur, you might be running your own business, you might be thinking about shifting from that 9-to-5 corporate world into doing something by yourself. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you is to work and align yourself with your purpose, what really matters. And that could well be your grief. Work with it, use it. It's with you all the time. It's never going away. We're not getting over grief. We're not working through our grief. We're growing with it. And if you can bring that into your business and align it and make it part of your purpose, that's going to make your business so much more successful. It's going to make it so much more authentic, and you are going to resonate with the right people, because you don't have to cater to all the people with your business. You have to cater to the right people. So if I could give, any of you that are going down this business path and wondering how to navigate this with grief, be authentic, be you, weave your grief into it. Let people see that raw emotion. Let people see you cry. Let people see you smile and embrace and celebrate everything great that you do whilst holding your grief in one hand. You know, you absolutely can. We talk about this duality of emotions. I talk about it a lot, and it is so important. And we can do that with our business as well. We can celebrate everything we achieve while still being really sad and missing the person that was our biggest cheerleader. You know, whether that's a parent, a partner, a child, you know, we can do that. And, you know, we can imagine them on the sidelines watching us and cheering us. We can imagine what they would say to us. We can think about what they would say to us in the hard times as well, because running your own business is hard. You know, working in someone else's business is hard. But we can imagine what they would say to us, how they would cheer us on, how they would motivate us to move forwards, to flourish and thrive. So, yeah, grief and business, they can work together really, really well, and in a very, very authentic and purposeful way. So if you are thinking about how you blend living and growing with your grief and business, just know it is absolutely possible to do it. But you have to dig deep with your questioning, and you have to align yourself with what you can manage and what you want to do, and set aside maybe that shame or guilt of not doing the things that were expected. Do something different, celebrate it, because maybe, you know, if you were running a business and, you know, you haven't got your business partner anymore, whether they were your partner in life or not, maybe your business would have gone that way anyway at some point. You just don't know. So embrace it, but align yourself with purpose. And purpose is so important. When you're living with grief, I think we can all find a way that's purposeful to honour the memory of the person that we've lost. And I think that's such an important thing to do, because keeping their memory alive, keeping their name alive, keeping their name spoken, it's just so great to hear it when other people mention their name. You know, it can be hard. I think this is a big myth, actually. People think that if they mention the name of the person that you've lost to you, then it will make you really upset. So they avoid doing it. And yeah, we're always sad, even if we've got a smile on our face and we're genuinely happy and we're laughing and we're having a great time. We've always got that sadness of grief. We just learn to embrace it in here. But it's a real myth to think we don't want you to mention the name. We absolutely want you to mention their name to us and talk to us about the person we've lost, because we have never forgotten that they've gone. And by you mentioning their name, it acknowledges that you haven't forgotten they've gone as well. So yeah, just a little musing, if you like, on grief and business and alignment and purpose and all those important things. But just know it's absolutely possible to weave grief into the heart of your business without making your business really sad or unappealing to other people. It becomes the heart and soul of it, and I think that's a pretty amazing thing. So there we go. That's this episode of the podcast. I hope you will join me next time. Until then, stay safe. And if you are living and growing with grief, I will, of course, as always, in the comments, put some resources for you for free and some signposting options. And of course, if you ever want to reach out, I am here. See you next time.